Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. No. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby!
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cannon Fire Podcast. Back at you today live on YouTube for episode 183. Happy schedule release day, Bucs fans. Moments ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers unveiled their 17-game schedule. We'll break that down here in a minute, but welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. Are you ready to preview the slate for our Bucs in 2021?
I'm ready for billions. Yeah, we got billions here. I'm ready for so many people to ask me record predictions. And just going to put a full disclaimer. I know not everybody's in the chat probably that's going to be here, but I'm sure there's going to be some people that miss it and ask it anyway. We do not do record predictions on this show because what we do is sometime in August, we'll sit down and preview every game one by one. It'll be like an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute show, and we will pick wins and losses and go by that. So right now, this is just a preview, taking a look at the schedule, what's good, what's bad, places they have to travel to, when's their bye week, that sort of thing. So no record prediction talk right now, but it's exciting new time. This is the last bit of news you're going to get for a little bit from the NFL. So
it is a busy day, so I think we'll really get a good idea of our Cannon Fire faithful tonight because everybody and their mom is live streaming for schedule release day. It's almost like a holiday. Like if you're really one of those NFL fans who, I don't want to say has a problem, but teeters on it, this is a day that you look forward to for a very, very long time. Dare I say I might even look forward to schedule release day a little bit more than the draft, at least as far as this year goes. But
maybe this year, but
right. Shout out to our people in the live chat. Aaron Schnitzer hanging out with us. Garen 2012, our buddy Mr. Bucks Nation, the moderator holding it down. Kevin 522 and Andrew AM 209. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. So let's go ahead and get to this schedule. I mean, here we are. It has been released. There have been leaks all day. Some of them have been right. Some of them have been terrible. Some people have posted the strength of schedule board and said that that's a schedule. So, I mean, here we are. No more leaks, no more guessing. The Buccaneers kicking off their season. Thursday Night Football in Raymond James Stadium against healthy Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. I got to tell you, man, coming into this season, coming off of a Super Bowl, it's hard to not say Bucs by 50 every single week. Right? Mm-hmm. Like you look at this matchup against Dallas and you're like, oh yeah, it's a win. Okay. It's going to be week 1 football. Bucs are coming off of a full offseason. Everybody's healthy, but let's not forget that Dallas, I mean, Dak, depending on how he plays before he went down last year, he was playing pretty well. They've got a good wide receiver core in Dallas. They got some good pieces on that offense. And I think, what I look at the most in this week 1 game, it's going to be a good test for the defense, really get those guys up to speed to where they should be because there are some stout playmakers in Dallas for sure.
Yeah, really quick, though, before we get into that, preseason schedule has been released.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Saturday, August 14th, it looks like the Buccaneers are going to be hosting the Cincinnati Bengals in Tampa at 7:30 p.m. Saturday, August 21st, the Buccaneers will be hosting the Tennessee Titans at 7:30 p.m. And then August 28th, that's another Saturday, 3 straight Saturdays. They will be at the Houston Texans at 8 p.m. So there's your preseason. But yeah, we'll see how much, Tom Brady probably get a good look at Kyle Trask in those 3 games. So
yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I know that, preseason isn't the hot topic on everybody's schedule release show, but let's, not forget to mention here, if people are fired up about that Kyle Trask pick, well, that's probably the most you'll see him in red and pewter over the next few seasons. God forbid anything happens. Willie Beeman coming in with the first super chat of the live stream, $10 to The
Thank
Wendy's
you.
fun. What's going on, CFP? I enjoyed you guys during the draft and looking forward to a great season. Not too thrilled with the first game. Dallas, the team in the worst division of all, shouldn't be playing us in the first game. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people wanted that marquee matchup. You know, Buffalo, New Orleans were a couple of those teams that were rumored. You wanted an NFC versus NFC team, and I mean, that's what you got, but you got the Cowboys. America's team, quote unquote, as Tom Brady puts it. But I think it's a good matchup. And listen, I'll take the Cowboys over like a really tough team that they might not be week 1. But let's also remember Tom Brady's made the Super Bowl every single year he starts 0-1. So maybe we did want the Bills. Who knows? But thank you for the super chat, Willie. You're the man.
Yeah. So I mean, like you said though, Dallas, I think the type of game, and obviously we'll get into it more in our season prediction show in August, but this type of game has the makings of maybe a higher scoring game, just because, yes, I think the Buccaneers defense is very good, but this Dallas offense is also very good. But the big storyline here is going to be Dak Prescott's return. That's the obvious thing here. It's going to be his first time playing football since he had that nasty injury against the Giants in October, and we'll see how he responds. We'll see if he plays in the preseason at all. We're not sure. You know, might not be his complete first football action against the Bucs, but it's going to be a challenge, I think, for the Buccaneers secondary, and I think the Dallas offensive line will also be likely fully healthy. So I think this game could possibly be a pretty high scoring one. I don't think Dallas's defense is going to be able to keep up with the Bucs. I just don't see it. So that's why I would give the Bucs the edge to this one. But I think it could be a high scoring game. And I think a team like New Orleans made more sense. I heard the things about Buffalo, but normally the NFL likes to do an interconference game for the first one. So like the NFC versus AFC thing, I was like, so that's why I always thought New Orleans or Dallas made sense. So they go with Dallas. I think New Orleans would have been a little bit of a better storyline. You have the especially if Jameis Winston starts, you have the former quarterback with the same coaching staff that basically dumped him. I mean, it's not too long ago. The Saints swept them last year, embarrassed them the last time they were in Tampa. And then the Bucs beat them in the playoffs. And they would, raise the banner in front of them. That'd be, that's something that's new. And that's something that New Orleans has been searching for 10 years almost, another Lombardi trophy, and the Bucs got it. So, that would have been the better one. But I mean, I get it why it's Dallas. It's Dallas. It is what it is.
It's a game people will be watching.
It's always going to be a draw. It is always going to be a draw.
Right. There's a lot of other games to get excited about. Just like last season, the Buccaneers do have 5 primetime games this year. So Dallas is going to be kicking things off week 1. Week 2, your first division matchup within the NFC South. They're going to be at home again, taking on Atlanta. And, I guess we'll kind of do like a condensed breakdown of each game. But previewing this far ahead to Atlanta is something we like to do on our season prediction show. But I think Atlanta is another team that, I see no reason the Bucs shouldn't sweep them again in 2021.
Yeah, it's a division, so it's a division opponent. So we'll see what happens. I think you always play your division tough, and obviously early in the season, the Bucs really played Atlanta late last year. They played them, week 15 was the first time they played them, and now this year Carolina's that team. They don't play Carolina for the first time till week 16. So. Sort of essentially almost switching roles, kind of, if you look at it, because the Bucs played Carolina last year at in week 2 in Tampa, and then they played them again like mid-season or so. Sort of a switch here with the Falcons. The Falcons now come to Tampa week 2, and Carolina has to wait a while. But yeah, I mean, the Falcons could be a team that are still riding high. It's a coaching staff that's a rookie coaching staff, so you may not know exactly what they're going to do. So that's sort of the downfall of having it this early. They don't really have tendencies per se. But I mean, this Falcons team might be trading Julio Jones. I mean, it very well could. So we'll see what happens.
Now this next stretch,
we'll see what happens.
Week 3 and 4, I think, is one of the tougher stretches of the schedule. They're on the road both weeks. Week 3, you heard it from Pat McAfee on his show today. They're going to be playing the Rams out in L.A., Matt Stafford and his fancy new offense. And then the week after that, the must-see game of the season, they're going to be in Foxborough taking on New England and Bill Belichick against the Patriots. Like I said, this is a stretch you look at, and while I don't think the Patriots are going to be competing for first place in their division, I think they have, a lot better setup than they did last year at this time for sure. And when you're playing on the road 2 weeks in a row, it's going to be tough going coast to coast as well. But the Rams, going to be another team that's exciting to watch depending on how Matt Stafford is able to do with those guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a challenge to go to go out to LA after being in Tampa, going out to LA, then going back to Tampa, then going up to New England. Like that's it's not easy. Luckily it's not a short week, and luckily it's not even a Sunday night football game versus the Rams. So the Bucs should be able to get into Tampa at least at a decent time on Sunday. They're able to sleep in their own beds and stuff, and then get to work. So it's a challenge. I looked at the Rams as probably the best team that the Bucs were going to play, or one of the best teams. I think them or the Bills are probably the best teams that the Bucs were going to play this season. So, and this game's on the road. I think it's an incredible challenge, and this type of defense could really give Tom Brady fits. But hopefully they learned a little bit from last year. And who knows? That's another a positive about getting the Rams this early. Is Stafford going to be connecting with his guys? Is the Rams offense really going to be in rhythm? And you don't know. So I think it could definitely go either way. I think it's a very tough game, but to be a good teams, you got to win some tough games. And the Buccaneers weren't able to get the job done against the Rams last year. Maybe they'll be able to get it done this year.
Yeah. And it's funny because we look at last year's schedule and this year. I think it's worth noting. I don't know who messed up and gave the Bucs the easiest schedule in the NFL, but we love this schedule, right? You look at the Rams as one of the toughest matchups they're going to have. Nobody was saying that last year. I know we were saying that they were going to be a tougher team, right? But you had the Chiefs on your schedule. You had a lot of good teams. You had the Packers and Aaron Rodgers riding high when they came to town. So you still had
the Saints twice.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the Saints twice this year, but they're in a much different situation. Drew Brees obviously not there. The starting quarterback situation a little bit up in the air. I'm still kind of leaning towards Jameis, but we'll see what happens ultimately. Carolina's in a weird adjustment phase. You don't know how Sam Darnold's going to work. Atlanta, like I said before, this is a team that could trade away, the best wide receiver they've had in history. Almost ever?
It's got to be history.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know the state of these teams, but as of right now, it looks pretty favorable for Tampa. So I don't know who's going to get the lashing at the, the schedule making committee, but people are upset about Tampa's schedule this year, and I would not have it any other way.
Yeah. I mean, what we talked about beforehand. Personally, for me, I'd like to have it a little bit of a different way. But so here's the little inside thing here. So when I'm obviously the Philly Bucs fan, so I'm from Philly, and no, I do not know if I'm going to the Eagles Bucs game. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not, to be honest with you, but I don't know. So we go on vacation every November, and normally it falls either sometime within weeks 9, 10, or 11. That's normally our vacation, but we normally overlap with 2 weeks. Sometimes it's been weeks 10 and 11. Sometimes it's been weeks 9 and 10. Last year it was weeks 9 and 10. This year it's going to be weeks 9 and 10. And of course, week 9 is the bye week, so obviously no game then. And then week 10 they are in Washington, so that does not help our cause at all. So we'll not be going to a game this year. Maybe we'll fly down to one of them, make a special trip.
You won't be making a game this year, but you will still come down for your yearly beating in the King of the Wing competition. I will take home the crown for the second year in a row. The reigning, defending
No.
King of the Wing champion.
You act like you're the Undertaker, and you just got this tremendous streak.
Well, I'm undefeated, buddy. As far as the stats, go check your sheets.
Go check your sheets.
Go watch some game film.
It's not a win streak until you hit like 3. Like that's a streak. All right. So and who knows where we're gonna be 2 years from now when you can potentially hit 3, but you're not going to because I'm tying up the series. So.
There we go. I like the enthusiasm. Shout out to our people in the chat: Daniel H, Kevin 522, Vortex, and Garen 2012, who is Bubba Army hanging out with us. Thank you so much for your support, my friend. Truly do appreciate it.
I called in
with James as official moderator. Yes, Kevin, he will be there.
I called into the radio station today, had a little conversation.
Yes, you did, man. Yes, you did. You called into the I think the Scouts show. It was myself, my coworker Lummy, his good buddy Daryl. We were talking everything from the backup guard situation to how much Lummy hates Donovan Smith. We were talking about Josh Freeman, Blake Bortles signing in Green Bay. There was a lot we covered, and I'm glad you were there for a little bit of it.
So, but before we move on to talk about a primetime game, right?
Yep.
It's week 4. I saw some people say, oh man, the Bucs only got 5 primetime games. That's terrible. Well, the amount of primetime games by team, yes, this season you were allowed the maximum of 7. 7 was the max number. There are no teams with 7, no teams with 6. The max teams have 5. That's Green Bay, New Orleans, Dallas, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, the Rams, San Francisco, Kansas City, and Tampa. So those are nobody has 6, nobody has 7. So a lot of people could be complaining, but the Buccaneers basically do have the max primetime games, even though that number technically was put to 7. So.
Right.
And who knows? Some of those later games in the season could be flexed. What if the Panthers are on a roll? And the Bucs are, the Bucs are in first place, but the Panthers maybe have just a little bit of shot to make the playoffs. To one of those games in Carolina or in Tampa, does one of those games get flexed? Who knows?
Yeah, for sure, man. Week 4, like we had mentioned before,
one.
Bucs are on the road. This is the game of the year. I mean, if you are a bandwagon Tampa fan, if you are a diehard New England fan, I mean, shit, if you're a diehard Bucs fan, everybody has their eyes on this game. It is Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick for the first time in history. And I don't want to say winner take all because I don't know when these teams will play again with Tom Brady at the helm. But this one's for all the marbles, it feels like, right? It feels like the heaviest game of the season for some reason because I think for Tom Brady in particular, there's a hell of a lot to prove in this one.
Yeah, I think, Bill Belichick will never admit it, but deep down inside, there's a lot for him to prove in this one too. He wants to win this one. The New England players want to win this one. I mean, they want to sort of prove that, like, hey, the guys we got now, yeah, we can win. We will win with the guys we got now. We don't need, like with Tom Brady. Yeah, you're great and all, but we don't need you to win. They want to prove that. But then Tom Brady wants to prove, like, yeah, you made a mistake. Not necessarily letting me go because it was his decision to leave, but like you made a mistake, not like doing things for me and treating this thing like a boot camp and stuff like that. So, excuse me. It'll be interesting to see just how they play him because nobody knows Tom Brady better than Bill Belichick. So does Belichick know exactly how to game plan? I think it's going to be a really tight game. I do. It's going to be a primetime game. Both teams are going to get up for it. And I think both defenses I think it could be a low scoring game. So I think you could see both defenses really rise to the occasion in this one.
It could be a low scoring game. I also think because of who's playing quarterback for New England. Now, my question for you is, do you think it's going to be Cam this time in the season or are we going to see Mac Jones?
Could be.
Because, I mean, I feel like 4 weeks is enough time for Cam to just kind of, play his way out of the starting job because he should have done that last year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the week 4 is sort of that sweet spot, right?
Yeah, teams are starting to figure stuff out.
What if New England's 0-3 with Newton? Like, do they throw Mac Jones in there? Like, what if they're 1-2 with Newton, but the offense really doesn't look great? Like, that's sort of the sweet spot, and that's always a concern, right? That'd be the most Bucs thing ever. That even with Tom Brady, right? Mac Jones comes in, that's his first start, and boom, it's Daniel Jones in Tampa all over again.
Oh, man.
It's just it's the same last name, same thing, right? Nobody thought he should have been drafted in the first round. It's the same exact storyline. That was week 3. This is week 4. So I just not sure. I would guess Cam Newton. I guess he would have the job still, so I think the Bucs defense would see him.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? Maybe that's the game where what if the Bucs are up big and like Bill says, "Look, I'm pulling you, Cam." Like, if the Bucs are up, if the Bucs are up big, 20 points at halftime, and Bill's like, hey, like I gotta like we're pulling a plug on Cam. That you could see Mac Jones. So I think you'll see Cam Newton start. Maybe not finish, who knows? But I do think that's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both defenses. I I'm not saying Tom Brady can't have success. I just think Bill Belichick's such a good coach that he knows exactly what to do to contain Tom Brady and contain those weapons. So, and contain Rob Gronkowski. And everybody's talking about, Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick. This is Rob Gronkowski's first time versus New England Patriots too.
Yes, it is.
We'll see.
Julian Edelman, who's apparently going to be a Buccaneer here soon. He'll be playing against his old team.
By week 4, he might be. And then, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown played one game with the Patriots, but yet again, like he was with the Patriots. So it'll be interesting to see. And I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. But, yeah, that's not the biggest game on the Bucs schedule as far as, like, seeding goes, but it feels like it's like the biggest game. Because, like,
just has a lot of weight to it.
It shouldn't even feel like it for the fans because like they have no horse in that race. Like it doesn't like, what does it matter? Like the Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick thing, but like those guys personally, like put yourself in Tom Brady's shoes. You're going out to face your former boss. You want to beat him.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like, and Bill Belichick,
stick it to him.
Yeah. You're going out to face your former employee. Like you want to beat him. So like for the fans, like, that's how big this is. That like it feels big for the fans, but in reality, it's more big for those players on a personal level.
Yeah. Shout out to our people in the live chat as we're about a quarter of the way through the season schedule. Technically, we're not a quarter of the way because there's 17 games this year. I hate that so much, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Adrian Ponce hanging out with us. He said Bucks coming to LA week 3, and he will be there. So send us some photos, tag us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow us there, Cannon Fire Podcast. Willie Beeman says, I'm looking forward to the Pats game. Both sides know each other very well. And Belichick spent a king's ransom in free agency. And that's the thing as well, man, is that like that's how you know that Belichick is definitely serious about how he's approaching this year. Not that he wasn't last year because of, all the opt-outs kind of get in the way of everything. But he's really doubling down. I think he's going to try his best to compete. I don't think they'll get first place in that division, but they'll be fighting for that second place spot for sure. And then Kevin 522 says, hey, let's give Cam some leeway here. The man had COVID, no help in New England, and he was learning a new offense. He should be better with an offseason. I do agree with that, but maybe I'm a little biased here, but I can't get the sour taste of Cam Newton out of my mouth since his time in Carolina. I hated watching him dance on the Buccaneers 5-yard line before scoring a touchdown, right? It's like garbage time, and they sent him on a QB sneak right up the middle just to get another 7 points. But, that's how I remember Cam Newton.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. And that's another thing. This will be the first time. That's something you forget. First time the Bucs will be facing Cam Newton since he left the Panthers. So
yeah,
the Bucs had success against Cam Newton more recently than they did earlier in his career. And hopefully that trend continues. So
for sure. Staying in the same division, but the Bucs are headed back home. Week 5, they're taking on the Miami Dolphins. And this is, I think, one of those games, kind of like the Packers game last year. I'm really excited to see this one play out, not only because I have a lot of family who's Miami fans, but I think it's going to be a closer game than people expect. I really like the Miami hype this year, and I think they'll be a team that competes.
I think this is going to be a tough game. I think this is going to be a tougher game than people think. I really do. Brian Flores, again, comes from New England. That entire staff comes from New England. Like, they know Brady. Obviously, I know they haven't coached there in a little bit. They still know Tom Brady. Tom Brady was there his entire career.
Yeah, they worked with the guy.
Yeah, it's not like Brady was, they went against him in practice. It's not like Brady was just there for a year. It's not like he was there for a cup of coffee. I think Miami went 10-6 and missed the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And they had a young team, man. Nobody.
And they swapped quarterbacks almost halfway through the year.
It was like a bullpen.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, literally. It was like a bullpen. Oh, this guy's not working. Throw him out there. Oh, now we're finding success. Yeah. This all relies on Tua. It really does. If Tua is going to be good, then the Dolphins are going. I think the Dolphins could. I think they could compete with the Bills for the division. I think the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. Yeah. I think
it'll be either Miami or New England in that second place spot.
No, yeah, the Jets aren't. Yeah, we'll talk about it. The Jets are the Jets. So.
The Jets
they're looking up, but they're still the Jets. The Bucs have a few of those on their schedule. Just Miami's defense. That's what I'm looking at. I think their defense is versatile. Their defense is talented. I mean, they can dismantle guys. So this is a tough game. I think this is a game where the Bucs defense is going to have to, force some turnovers. And Tua, The issue with him is pocket awareness. He's had some issues with fumbling this past season, and just overall like aggressiveness. But also, he didn't really have that many weapons. Now he's got Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle. I mean, it's going to be a tough chat. I think it's going to be a tougher game than people think. I think the Bucs are the better team, but I do think it's going to be a tough game. So we'll have to see.
David Cardona in the live chat says, which game on the schedule is no one talking about right now, but you guys think will be a good game? I mean, that Miami game.
That Miami game.
Yeah, I think that's number one for me. I've got that one circled on my schedule, just like I did the first Packers game last year. But I'm excited to see what Miami can do. I really like what Brian Flores is doing, and I think our buddy Willie Beeman said it best as well. They nailed the draft this year. They only got better, so I'm excited to see that game in Week 5. Week 6. Now, I know you mentioned that Week 9 and 10, when you're down in Florida, you might not be able to make a home game, but maybe, just maybe, this is the one that you're able to make. Bucs are taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, so this was okay. There's 4. The Bucs play the NFC East, right? There's 4 teams in the NFC East. 3 of those teams get primetime games versus the Bucs, except for the one that they actually played in the playoffs that won the division.
Let's hope they can play better at night this year too. I think Kevin mentioned it a little earlier
everybody,
in the stream.
Everybody's so bummed about only having 5 primetime games. The Bucs went 1-3, and
we wanted 7.
Yeah, I understand that they won a Super Bowl. Sure, they still in the regular season they went 1-3. That was a serious concern. I remember sitting on this podcast talking like, do these guys know the playoffs are going to be primetime games?
Yeah,
because
pretty much all those games are going to be at night or at least late afternoon.
Yeah, like they're going to be at primetime games, and they just can't win them. It was a real issue. That one win. That one win was the Giants game.
We're coming up. We were sitting here coming up with theories like maybe the lights get in their eyes,
like maybe they're sleeping too late or they're doing something. I don't know. But
I mean, Arians. Let's not ignore it. Bruce Arians had him practicing at night. What, to prepare for the Giants game, right?
It was that bad. And then they went out and they almost lost the Giants game. And then the very next week they got blown out by the Saints on Sunday Night Football. So it's a serious issue, and it's something that they're gonna have to get corrected right out of the gate. You got Thursday Night Football first week, and then the fourth week Sunday Night Football, and now 6th week Thursday Night Football. It's time, and this is a game. Philadelphia is just in a position. I don't think I'm going to this game. We'll see. I'll keep you guys updated, but. Philadelphia is just not in a position to win a lot of football games this year. And I think they're fine with that. This is essentially, I compare this to Carolina last year. Mm-hmm. Carolina knew they were probably going to struggle, but they just want to remain competitive. I think that's going to be Philly. I think they're going to lose a lot of 1-score games. So I don't think this game might not be a complete blowout, but I think the Bucs should be able to handle them with relative ease. But like I said, I'm not saying it's going to be a 20-point blowout. It might be a 8-9-point win. But I think the Eagles will battle hard. But in the end, if the Bucs, if their issues on primetime are good and again gone, they shouldn't have much trouble. And I mean, this is if you want to be taken seriously as a Super Bowl defender / a team that repeats,
you got to win these games.
You got to win these. Yeah, no matter where they are, prime time or not. Like the weather, it's week 6. I know how that weather is in mid-October in Philly. Okay, it's not going to be that bad. Yeah, it's at night, so it'll be a little bit chillier, but it's not going to be that bad. Okay, it'll probably be low 50s, high 40s. So like cold won't be an issue. Okay. You got to win that game. You have to win that type of game. It's the same thing with probably, I know it's a division game but with Atlanta week 2. You got to win that type of game. I think that I think the Eagles will battle hard, but I do think the Bucs probably would take care of them. The curious thing with Philly though for me is Jalen Hurts.
Right. He's a wild card. You think he's going to be good?
I think he's going to be okay. I think he'll be good enough to where you feel there's going to be a split fan base on him.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to be. I think he'll be good enough to where the people can say, oh, look at this, right? Not as split as James Winston was, because he was like to an extreme, but there'll be like Jalen Hurts fans, but then there's other people like, oh, you still got to draft a quarterback. Like,
right.
You got to get one. So I think that's what his season's going to be, but he's a guy who he's a guy who can escape the pocket. We all know that. And I think he can extend plays and create on his own. So it'll be interesting to see how they defend him.
Yeah, and the Buccaneers have a history of, having a little bit of trouble with the guys who
Yeah.
can scramble out of the pocket, so it'll definitely be a good matchup. As far as the primetime struggle goes, David Cardona in the live chat said, I only remember struggling in primetime because Evan was suspended after the Giants game, and it made me sad. And I read that comment and instantly made him a moderator because, listen, to be a moderator on this channel, you kind of have to be a real one, follow the show for a little while. And I mean, the guy knew about your suspension, which we won't bring up because what you did was unspeakable. But
it's so unspeakable. I don't even remember what it was. that's how like legit. I don't remember what it was. I don't think I picked the Bucs to win that Giants game. What did I say? I legit don't remember what I got. I'll have to go back and look. If anybody else knows, put it in the chat, but I don't remember what I was suspended for.
Maybe David knows. Apparently he's a big Evan fan. But thank you for your support, Evan. We're glad to have you watching the show, buddy.
Big Evan guy. Let's go.
Week 7. Here it is, man. At home. The one team that just, the one game that felt like it got away from them last year. They're in Raymond James taking on the Chicago Bears. You think it's Justin Fields at quarterback?
Yeah, we had this discussion on radio.
Yes, we did.
Week 7.
I mean, it's more than enough time to realize that Andy Dalton's not going to get it done, right?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a look real quick, just at the Bears schedule and just in my head, see the games beforehand.
Yeah.
That might determine what it is.
Okay.
So the Bears schedule, they start off at the Rams. That's a loss. At the Steelers, they might win that game. Steelers are a mess. At the Packers, I don't know who the Packers quarterback's going to be. I'll just go with the safe bet.
Blake Bortles, of course.
Yeah, of course. You know that Blake Bortles has the same amount of playoff wins since 2017 as Aaron Rodgers does. Just saying.
Blake Bortles was also he also made it to the AFC Championship, did he not?
He did.
Yeah.
And, he lost to Tom Brady just like Aaron Rodgers. A lot of similarities.
Oh no.
Okay. So I'll assume Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. So let's say lost. Vikings, I'll give him a win. Lions, I'll give him a win.
Yeah,
Packers, I'll give him Packers. Packers, I'll give him a loss. What? Wait a minute. This is stupid.
What, their schedule?
Okay, here it is. Okay, yeah, it was that was like primetime games. So the Rams one is the first game. That's a loss.
Okay.
Then they got the Bengals. That's probably a win. Bengals are on a rebuild. Browns, that's a loss. Lions, that's a win. Bears, you can probably. Bears playing the Bears. Raiders.
Yeah, that's the scrimmage game.
Yeah, they can probably beat the Raiders. And then Packers lost. So was it 3-3 going into Tampa? I don't know if it's going to be Fields. If they're 3-3 and Dalton starts, I think it would all depend on how Dalton's
up
actually
to get the guy. I feel like when you trade up to get a guy, especially like a Justin Fields, I know we could say the same thing about Jordan Love, but they don't have Aaron Rodgers in Chicago. But when you trade up to get a guy,
they don't want Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. So.
Right? Yeah. I feel like when you trade up to get a guy like that, you're a little bit more eager to, let him loose and see what happens. Get those rookie mistakes out of the way so he can be the future of the franchise that you traded up to get.
But also, I think I'm just thinking about old man, like football coach, right? if you're 3-3 and Andy Dalton puts up respectable numbers, like in your, let's say, like how can you pull him?
Or like 275, 2-3 touchdowns, 1 pick or no picks.
Yeah, like by week 7, he has like 9 touchdown passes, like 3 picks. It's like very like pedestrian, but you're winning games. Like you're 3-3 or 500.
Right.
You're not terrible. I just don't know. Oh man, I'll say it's Andy Dalton the Bucs are playing, and I think that. I think that Tom Brady will remember this. I think he was embarrassed about the whole not knowing what down it is, and I think he takes that off. So, hey, well, what week are the Bucs playing the Patriots?
Yeah. All righty. So I think personally, I don't think Andy Dalton will still be the guy. I still believe that it'll be Justin Fields' time in Chicago by the time week 7 rolls around. But let's go ahead and move on to week 8. We have got ourselves another NFC South matchup, and it is against those goddamn New Orleans Saints. It's going to be in the Superdome on Halloween, the spookiest game of the year. back in the Superdome with fans, I think, too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that'll be a test, man. That's, just like that Rams and Patriots stretch. You've got the bye week 9, but this is a tough game to kind of close the first half of the season with, and it's going to be a statement game for Tampa Bay.
It is.
If you can push the Saints back down one more time, maybe we'll forget about the loss later in the season, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna. Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna sweep the Saints.
I don't think they're gonna sweep New Orleans.
Yeah. So it's ironic that it's on Halloween because a lot of Bucs fans were always scared every time Jameis Winston dropped back to pass.
He's thrown plenty of interceptions in the Superdome.
He's handing out interceptions like they're Halloween candy. I'm ready to make a lot of these puns. I'm ready for these jokes.
You've been waiting all day for this one, man.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw it was on Halloween, I saw this is a spooktacular event. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Well, I mean, Michael Thomas is essentially a ghost because he disappeared versus Carlton Davis. So I would like to beat New Orleans at home. I would like to beat them in Tampa, preferably. Right. But the last time the Bucs were in this building, it was Drew Brees' last game. The Saints are gonna want to win this game. Like they are gonna be they're gonna be more motivated than Tampa Bay to win this game.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is always gonna be in the same position that Tampa Bay was going into that playoff game.
You got a lot to prove. I mean, you're coming
Tampa Bay, yeah.
You're coming off of an embarrassment. You're coming off of being sent home. And I mean, it would have been, a nicer storyline had these teams ended up meeting week 1, but you got to wait till halfway through the season. That makes them even more amped up. They're playing with momentum. They kind of have their guys figured out. It's not a learning process week 1 of the season. You're not instilling new plays, new calls, new formations, whatever the case may be. This is prime territory. Like week 9 last year, we really thought that was going to be the game, get revenge from early on in the season, but clearly Tampa wasn't prepared. I think they will be much more prepared this time around, but it's definitely a statement game for both teams.
New Orleans is a worse team. Like they are. Like they lost a lot of key pieces. Their draft class was I mean, it wasn't like spectacular or anything. So they still don't have an answer at the second cornerback spot. They still don't really have an answer at the second wide receiver spot.
Yeah.
Their defense, they lost Trey Hendrickson, who just terrorized the Bucs last year in weeks 1 and week 9. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be a tough game. Division game's always close. Ready for it. Halloween, 4:25. Game will be over. You can go trick or treating after a win. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's obviously the biggest storyline is Jameis Winston, most likely being the quarterback for these Saints when the Bucs come marching in. So it'll be interesting to see how Jameis Winston and honestly how the Buccaneers defense attacks Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
we talk about Tom Brady with New England. The Bucs know Jameis Winston better than anybody as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians okays it, and guys like Levante David who have known him for a while. Jason Pierre,
those tendencies. You practice against them 5-6 times a week.
For 5 years, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot of practice, a lot of training camp. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bucs play Jameis Winston. But I do think both sides are going to be motivated, but I think New Orleans is really going to push. So the Bucs are really going to have to give it their all.
For sure. So the bye week coming at a pretty good time. I can't really complain.
It's a bad time for me. Good time for the Bucs. It's honestly almost a perfect bye week. I think you want your bye week right in the middle, and this
splits the season in half.
Yeah, you want your bye week to be weeks 8, 9, or 10, pretty much. Those 3 dates pretty much split the season in half. Yeah, so it's a pretty good bye week.
And coming out of it as well, another thing that's important to mention. I mean, first half of the season, second half of the season, the same trend follows. But the Buccaneers don't have any weeks where they're playing 3 straight games on the road, 3 straight games at home. And I think a common trend we had seen from the schedule these past few years is 2-3 games on the road. 5 games in a row one time. I mean, there's always something you can nitpick with the schedule. This year, like I said before, I wouldn't rather have it any other way. I think it is a great schedule, and we definitely should be happy with it. I mean, the least strength of schedule in the league, the number 32 ranked strength of schedule.
Yeah, I actually think that was according to Mike Clay's
Okay.
model. I think the Bucks are a little bit.
Are they like
I think
28?
Yeah, I think there's a few teams that are above them. I think the Eagles have one of the easiest. I don't know if the Bucks have the easiest, but I broke it down on Twitter. I don't see it. I think you're basing it all on what these teams did last year. Like,
Right.
You really are. I broke it down on Twitter.
Oh, a lot of different situations.
I think the Bucks schedule is harder than a lot of people think. Just like we talked about Miami, that Miami game, right? And then you got Buffalo, and then New England's well coached, and and then you got the 2 division games with New Orleans and Dallas with a returning Dak Prescott, Washington, who we're going to talk about here soon. There's the Giants added some weapons, and I still think Daniel Jones is going to hold them back, but they added some serious weapons. They're going to have Saquon Barkley back. So the Rams, like this is not an easy schedule, I don't think. So I think you're basing it on last year, and I don't think you should. But hey, I mean that's what those models are for. So let's move on though. Week 10, they got an important matchup coming up with a pretty good team.
Oh yeah, man. You talked about them. Here we go again. Washington football team in Washington. So it'll be a rematch of that super wild card game from last year. I don't think we're going to see Taylor Heineke. I think we're going to get Ryan Fitzmagic, baby. And
Magic.
Oh, buddy, I'm excited for this one. I know it's just the Washington football team, but I think Washington has the pieces this year, especially on defense, to go out there and really make a push to win the NFC East. And if Ryan Fitzpatrick plays like he did in Miami, I think they got a really good shot of doing so.
It'll be the first time that Fitzpatrick's played the Bucs in a regular season since he left. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm curious to see Washington, because I think Washington could be a sneaky, very, very good team.
Yeah,
their defense is loaded. I know everybody was like, "Oh, what are you talking about the Washington defense?" Before the playoff matchup. Like, that defense is one of the best in the NFL. So what the Buccaneers did was impressive. And maybe they can replicate it, but the defense added some more talent. They added William Jackson, the third from Cincinnati, Jamin Davis from the linebacker in the first round. And then obviously on offense, Fitzpatrick and Curtis Samuel, and they re-signed Brandon Scherff. So I think it's going to be a tough challenge. It's a tough road game. I'm pretty sure all stadiums are expected to have fans. So that's another factor on the road now that you have to consider. So I think it's a tough game. The Bucs, hopefully they're able to pull it out just like they did, with the playoff game. But this is going to be a tough one.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to our guy in the live chat. Don Trump, the one and only 45th president of the United States, is hanging out with us, but showing some love for the podcast, and he is Bub Army as well. So thank you for hanging out with us, my friend.
He tried to disguise himself just as
right, so he didn't get his account banned. I get it. I do the same thing, man. I got burners everywhere. Moving on to week 11. The Buccaneers are at home. They're taking on Big Blue, the New York Giants. Your yearly matchup against New York. I don't know what it is about the Giants, but they always find a way to weasel themselves into our schedule, and here they are yet again. Daniel Jones with what feels like his last chance this season. And a little bit better of a team than they had last year, I think. But I don't know. How do you think the Giants are going to do this year? Not that great? 5-win team?
No, I think they'll win a little bit more than 5 games.
Okay.
I think you're looking closer to. See, I'm so mad. There can't be any 500 teams.
Oh, I know. Doesn't that suck? You want to say they're going to go 7-9, 8-8? Really right there on the threshold.
I think I just keep going like wins. I'll say the Giants get 7 or 8 wins. So yeah. I'll say either 7-10 or 8-9. I think 8-9 is probably their ceiling. Because I mean they did, they added Kenny Galladay and they added Kadarius Toney and
they still got Sterling Shepard, I think.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. They got guys. So they're getting Saquon Barkley back. That defense played a lot of people tough. So
played Tampa Bay tough.
Played Tampa Bay very tough. And this is another Monday Night Football game. It's just a different location. So we'll have to see what happens. But I just don't know if Daniel Jones. Kevin said 8-1. That's not 500 now. 8-1 is not a 500 record. So yeah, you can go 8-8 and 1 and with one tie, but that doesn't equivalent to 500 record. So
I mean, I guess that literally is just the closest you can get, because the one you didn't win, you didn't lose. It's like a 0.5 almost for that record, but it's pretty funny to bring up. So, I'm excited to see that matchup.
I just think Daniel Jones is just going to hold them back. I just don't think Daniel Jones has it. So
Week 12, the Buccaneers are on the road, and this is another one of those games where, depending on how the quarterback play looks in Indianapolis, this is another one of those games on the schedule that could be a pretty tall task for Tampa Bay. We know that they have a great offensive line in Indy. We know that their defense is one of the best in the NFL. But if Carson Wentz can find a way to thrive in Indy, it could spell trouble for the Buccaneers in Week 12.
It could spell trouble for the NFL.
Yeah, it could.
That Indy team is literally, I think, a team that is...
They're a quarterback away.
A true quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. Like, I legit think that team could win a Super Bowl if they found the right quarterback. Indy's a tough one to project because it all depends on Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
If Carson Wentz is good, that's a tough game. That is on the road. That is, on the road after a Monday Night Football game, it's a short week. That's a tough game, man. That is a really tough game. But if Wentz still struggles, I mean, would he even be the quarterback at that point? Like, I don't know, Yeah. If the Colts are struggling, who knows? So I think Wentz is going to do fine. I don't think he's going to do excellent, but I also don't think he's going to be horrible. So I think it's a tough game regardless. Indy made the playoffs last year. I think they're a playoff caliber team, and they're one that the Bucs are going to have to beat. I don't know if they will. Like I said, we're not doing season predictions, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But this is one of the games where I think one player could really tilt it either way, and it's Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, the last stretch of the schedule.
But by the way, that was the 17th game added. So
yes.
That was the extra road game. So next year, the Bucs this year have 9 road games, 8 home games. Next year they'll have 9 home games, 8 road games.
Yeah. Well, with that 17th game, we don't really know how it's going to affect teams down the stretch. We know that week 18 is going to be a division matchup no matter what. We'll talk about that in a minute. But these last 5 games, they really shoved all the Bucs division games right here into the stretch, did they not? So coming off of the Colts, they're going to be on the road again in Atlanta, taking on the Falcons. We talked about that matchup a little bit earlier. By week 13, you're going to know who the Falcons are. By week 13, every single year, you kind of know who the Falcons are. Even if they turn around and they go on a little bit of a run like they like to do at the end of the year, I think you're still going to know who Atlanta is, and I think the Buccaneers should win that game. Week 14, the marquee matchup, Josh Allen taking on Tom Brady. Potential Super Bowl matchup, at least my prediction. Tampa Bay and Buffalo, that game is in Raymond James Stadium. I'm excited for this one, man. I think it's going to be high scoring.
Yeah. This is going to be an exciting game. This could, Buffalo is 1 game away. We are 1 game away from seeing this in Super Bowl 55, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
I
wasn't.
You
sure
already forgot? Damn, man.
Wasn't sure if it was 55 or 56.
It's right behind it. The logo's on the banner right there.
I can't see it. You're sitting right there. And besides, with those Roman numerals, I'm not smart enough for that, dude. It takes me time to figure that.
He's a football guy, not a grammar and
exactly.
English guy. I guess it's Roman, but you know what I mean.
David Cardona definitely listens to the podcast. He said, "Picture this, guys. Week 6, Thursday Night Football. Bucks have Kyle Trask at QB1. The Eagles have Jamie Newman at QB1. Evan's worst nightmare." I know. Jamie Newman would shred this defense. Just, oh my God. I'm just sitting there like, you got to be. And while Kyle Trask can't throw an out to save his life, he throws lollipops all over the field. Like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, yeah. And really quickly, just about the Colts game before we move on, our guy Willie Beeman made a great point. The Colts signed Eric Fisher not too long ago. Yeah. So, I mean, just along that great offensive line, it just got a little bit better with a former first-round overall pick. But
Kevin, that was a duck moment. That was. Yeah, listen, ever since, I don't know why the league, you can't just say a number, like 55 or 56. Like, why you got to look so fancy?
I will say that, I know that, the whole Roman numeral thing apparently really hurts your head. It's not that bad for me, but I wish they would go back to a little bit more original logos for the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like,
The reason it's hard to remember what Super Bowl is what is because
Everyone
ever
looks
since
the
Super
same.
Bowl 45, they've all looked the exact same.
It's silver writing with you know, with the Lombardi trophy in there somewhere. Like
Right.
it's the exact, like, yeah, that Super Bowl 37 logo. That's a cool logo.
It's memorable as hell.
It's unique to
You
San
you
Diego.
look at the logo and you remember the team that won the game. You know?
Yeah, it's unique to San Diego. Like, you know, it's always like a Tampa Bay one would have been cool.
Yeah,
like,
what a palm trees coming out.
Like, yeah, like the last one with the Steelers and Cardinals in Tampa Bay.
Well,
Like, that was a
last
pretty
I saw, I don't know if it was
logo.
official, but I think they're trying to take a step in the right direction this year. They've got
I
like
saw
palm
the
trees and
56 one, yeah, for LA. It was like,
yeah.
It was like kind of like
whatever.
orangish kind of. Yeah, so maybe we're going in the right direction. But yeah, the Buffalo, man, this is gonna be a fun one. A little surprised it wasn't a primetime game, but this will be a game that's nationally televised. This will be similar to the Kansas City game, where it's at 4:25, but it's nationally televised. And people are wondering why it's not, you know.
Why it's not primetime.
Yeah, okay. David Cardona, I elect for the Super Bowl logo to be like Mr. Bucks Nation's face when the team drafted. It was such happiness and pure bliss. Yeah, I was. Obviously, you watched it. If you saw James's reaction, I was a little bit.
Oh,
different,
dude,
so,
I think the first thing that went to his head was you. Because
yeah,
of how much you dislike Kyle Trask. Like, I don't like the pick. It's not a pick I would have made this year, but I think Kyle Trask as a player will grow on me. Because at the end of the day, nobody knows.
Buccaneers player grows on
he hasn't taken a snap, dude. Nobody knows how he's going to do. All these fans are like FSU fans that are saying he's a bust already, and Bucks made a huge mistake. Nobody knows. And when you've got Tom Brady going to play at least 2 more years, the Bucks are still winning Super Bowls. So let's see what happens when they stop doing that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's finish up this Bills one. Bills are very good. Bills
Yes.
are one of the NFL's elite. This is probably the best team I think the Bucks are going to play. Them or the Rams. Like I said, it's very close. So, a tough game. Containing Josh Allen is no easy task because Josh Allen, like Patrick Mahomes, does a lot of things that like you think you have him.
Right.
Like you're like, there's no way he can actually do it, and then he just does it. Right. He's not as crazy as Patrick Mahomes.
He's just one of those guys.
But he is a risk taker. So he's a guy that isn't afraid to risk it. So, be opportunistic. The Bucks secondary is going to have to be opportunistic. So, and also he can run. So the Bucks defense is going to keep him in the pocket, make him throw from that pocket. Yeah. And, on offense, Tom Brady, like he never loses to the Bills. I think he's lost to the Bills like once or twice in the past 15 years or something. It legit.
Oh, no, I know. We were joking about, if the Bills won the AFC Championship game, they go to the Super Bowl just to see Tom Brady.
Yeah. Hello. Like he left the division and you're like, oh, the division's ours.
Right,
yeah. Like, oh, we get to see you one more time so you can crush our dreams.
I will say, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to move on.
Yeah.
Taking a look at week 15 and 16, 2 straight division games for Tampa Bay, but your closing thoughts on the Bills.
Yeah, it's a tough game. It's like I said, I think I could see the Bucks losing this one. I think this is, you could slice it either way, and I think I would. You could talk. I don't think any team is gonna. I don't think the Bucks are gonna be. I know we say this every year. I don't think the Bucks are gonna be blown out by anybody, but I also don't know how many teams they're actually gonna blow out. So like I think there's gonna be another close game.
I think there's a couple games on this schedule, like one that we'll talk about here in a minute.
I think this game could be a coin flip for either team. So moving on to a rematch of the exact same situation from last year when the Buccaneers got embarrassed. How poetic is that?
Right. The Saints are going to be wearing those stupid alternate uniforms with the extra gold flare.
Yeah, the Bucs are going to be wearing red.
Raymond James Stadium, the Bucs taking on the Saints. Probably for the division at this point. I mean, if it's week 15, you got a good idea of what the playoff picture looks like, what seeds you might end up. I think you got a lot of division games left, though, too. You got 3 more after this.
Yeah. At this point, you would probably see the Bucs at the top of the division, and I think this would be New Orleans' maybe last grasp to try and get ahead of Tampa. So, like, this is a game that New Orleans might need to be able to win the division.
Right. Just like the Bucs needed Week 9 last year to win the division,
and hopefully it's the same thing.
Yeah. Right. Hopefully,
just opposite. Right. So, I just. It's it's so funny that it's in Tampa. It's Sunday Night Football. The two teams are likely going to be wearing similar uniforms.
They did it on purpose.
It's so funny to me. And now the Buccaneers might have some motivation because it's the same situation. It's going to be the same exact situation. So you got embarrassed the last time this situation played out. Don't let that happen again. And especially if you're trying to fend off the Saints, who maybe, let's say they're a game back or they're 2 games back behind you, and you know that if you win this one, it essentially puts like a fork in them, like they're done for their division. Maybe not their playoff hopes, but their division hopes. You got to get it done. So I think that the Bucs are going. I think the Bucs are going to split with the Saints. I think that the Bucs probably win this game though. But I've had the Bucs splitting with the Saints and losing to New Orleans in New Orleans and beating New Orleans in Tampa for like the last 3 straight seasons. So what I say doesn't really matter.
Another division game, second to last one, but just like last season, the Buccaneers play the same team 2 times in 3 weeks. This time it is Carolina, and they get their shot at Carolina week 16 and week 18, and it's hard to say where this Panthers team is going to be. I think obviously all of it is going to depend on Sam Darnold. Is he the guy in Carolina? Can he thrive in that offense with Joe Brady? We don't know, but by week 16, we'll definitely know if that's the case or not. And if it is, let's say they're closing in on 9-10 wins at this point. Maybe they're a team that, Bucs won't be able to sweep as easily as, say, Atlanta. But I don't know. A lot of question marks surrounding Carolina this year. Do you think they ultimately make it work?
They're another team that, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's, so many unknowns there.
1 year under their belt, with the new coaching system and everything. So it's kind of a question mark.
Yeah, and I mean, brand new quarterback. They did lose Curtis Samuel, but they're getting Christian McCaffrey back, a healthy McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Added some more pieces on defense. I think they're on the right track, but I just don't think this is the year for them. And I think the Bucs, should be able to at least split with them and maybe even sweep them. I know, Kevin, unpopular opinion, Panthers will be the Bucs' biggest opponent in the division. I don't. Honestly, to me, it's not an unpopular opinion because I've seen it around a lot. I just think a lot of people are forgetting just how good New Orleans core players that are still there are.
Right. New Orleans lost a lot of guys, but what made that team function so well was that they were a well-oiled machine. And if you have a core of players, which they still do, they just kind of swapped out the quarterback and lost a lot of pieces, but that core is still there. And, they still have Sean Payton as the head coach.
Yeah, Sean. They have one of the best coaching staffs. Their offensive line is still going to be a top 10 in the NFL. They didn't lose Michael Thomas. They didn't lose Alvin Kamara. Those guys are still there. They didn't lose Cam Jordan. They didn't lose DeMario Davis or Malcolm Jenkins or Marshawn Lattimore. So those guys, I think the people are just so down on the Saints right now. And I know this is a Buccaneers podcast, so I'm saying that, but I still think the Saints are the biggest competition. Yes, I think the Bucs are better than the Saints, but I think the Saints are the biggest competition. I just don't think the Panthers are there yet, and that's okay for them, right? They're not looking to be there yet, so I think they'll be competitive again. I think it'll be another season where they're competitive. They'll probably win 6 or 7 games. And we'll see how it goes from there. Like you said, Joe Brady, his offense. I like Joe Brady. It really, like you said,
I think he'll be a head coach in the NFL someday.
No, this is his last season, Carolina. Yeah, he's 150% getting a job. So, Sam Darnold by then, you'll know if Sam Darnold is a success in Carolina by then. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if the Panthers are out of it at that point, what motivation do they really have? The Bucs could be fighting for a number 1 seed at that point, while the Panthers could be down in the dumps. So that could make it an easier game. We'll have to wait and see.
For sure. Moving on to the final road game of the season. We kind of joked about this matchup a little bit earlier, and I don't even think it's so much the football team that's going to give the Bucs problem more than it is the weather. But late December, they're going to be playing the New York Jets in New York. I mean, it's the Jets, dude. It's Zach Wilson. It's Robert Salas. right?
Robert
It's
Saleh.
sorry, it's the Jets.
Are you telling me you might get a Buccaneers snow game?
Oh, with Tom Brady and the red and
With
pewter,
Tom
baby.
Brady? With
Oh
Tom
my
Brady?
gosh. I mean, Mr. December himself, you got to feel good about having Brady on your team coming into this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick before we completely move on from the Saints, if the Saints, Willie Beeman, if the Saints keep on having a mediocre draft, that core won't mean anything. Sure, I'm talking about
that's true.
this particular season though. I think eventually, yeah, like if you're talking 2022, I think the Panthers will probably be in a better position in 2022 than the Saints. But this season, the Saints are still like they're still fine. Like they're gonna be fine. So we'll see what happens with this Jets game, right? It's gonna be cold. It'll be cold, and the Jets will probably be out of it by now. So, maybe we'll see what happens with Zach Wilson, how he translates to the NFL. Looks like he's unlike the guy Justin Fields. Right. It looks like or Mac Jones. It looks like Zach Wilson's the clear-cut starter. So, I do think that he'll be the guy. He'll be the guy the entire year. Jets have some young pieces, but they're in a full rebuild. I mean, they're in a complete rebuild. It's a rookie head coach, which I know it's the end of the year, so essentially like he's had a year in the NFL almost. But I do like Robert Saleh. I think the Jets are on the right track. I just think the track ain't getting fixed this season.
Right,
so,
right. There's still a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's still a lot of track to be built. So I think the Jets are a year or two away from being really competitive. And I think this should be if the weather holds up fine, the weather, if it's snow or rain, man, that could really mess up a lot of things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, depending on the weather, it could be 47-7, just like it was in Detroit last year. But if it's snowing, I don't think they're going to put up more than 35.
No,
and that's being generous because
I think this is a game that maybe the Jets don't really have great weapons still. Like Denzel Mims is there, Jameson Crowder I think still there, but I mean other than that, like I don't think the weapons are great. Corey Davis, they signed him in free agency, but I like Corey Davis, but he's been injury prone. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that, but. I think, Tom Brady's dominated the Jets. I think he's going to continue to dominate the Jets, and I do think the Buccaneers will come away with one of their easier wins. I think this is obviously the worst opponent that they're going to play this year.
Right.
So I don't, like you just got to put no doubt in this game.
Yeah. And by the way, before we move on officially, Zach Wilson, he looks like the guy that I went to high school with who like played cornerback for 2 years, maybe wide receiver, a little skinny white guy. And then like junior year, he tried out to be the quarterback, but wasn't really good enough. So he had to settle with playing both ways, special teams, wide receiver, cornerback. There's just a lot of those skinny white dudes that really fit the mold of a Zach Wilson that I went to school with. And I don't know, he gives me those vibes. I know that has nothing to do with his football talent, but it's just what he looks like. And I think Kevin said he's a future Abercrombie and Fitch model. So
he gives me like Disney Pixar animated movie bad guy / jerk kind of vibe.
Well, like High School Musical, he's the bad guy or something.
No, but like an animated movie. Like
what? He kind of gives me like a my dad's really rich or my dad's a lawyer and.
But you know how like people said Sam Darnold reminded them of the bad guy from The Incredibles. Right. Like
a lot of people tell me that I remind them of the bad guy from The Incredibles.
You do. All right, Seamus. So
U.S. champ, brother.
You beat the bro. You made him go with Randy Orton. By the way, RK Bros, great name. What a name.
Yeah, I'm glad that they made something out of that. I really thought Randy Orton was going to have to go off the TV because of an injury, but they definitely turned it into something.
Exactly. Yeah. See, David knows what I'm talking about. Zach Wilson kind of looks like he's the main character of a Disney movie.
Sure,
but it's just like an animated Disney movie to me. And even like a regular Disney movie. Just looks like not necessarily like a villain, like just like the jerk, right?
Just like the bully. The quarterback that's a dick.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
The starting quarterback.
Like just like a dude that like thinks like he's not necessarily evil, but he's like the guy that like you want to like see the main character stick it to him.
You want to see him get his
like
comeuppance, basically.
Yeah. So and hopefully the Buccaneers defense can shut that bully up.
Final game of the season for Tampa Bay. We talked about it.
Kevin, syndrome. You look like syndrome.
Yeah.
That's okay. Whenever I shave my hair, I haven't done that for a few years. Everybody said I look like Bobby Hill. So it's okay.
That boy ain't right. Week 18, final week of the season. Let's wrap this thing up. A division game against the Panthers. Depending on what it looks like, I think the Buccaneers have some space in the division. In the division, they have a firm grasp on the lead by this time of the year. But
you might not even see the starters in this one.
I mean, if they need it, I think they'll come out and win it. But closing things out at home against Carolina. Play them twice in 3 weeks. We talked a lot about the matchup. I think the success of Carolina is going to depend on Sam Darnold and how he's able to play in Joe Brady's offense this year. So that's that. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2021 season schedule from beginning to end, all 18 weeks of it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. By this time, and somebody brought this up to me a little bit ago, this is the first time with 17 games.
Yeah, it is.
So our team's going to be a little bit more cautious with their starters, knowing if they're making the playoffs and knowing that there's an extra game. Are they going to rest guys that maybe normally in a week 16 game you wouldn't, but since there's that extra game,
right,
maybe you will. So we'll see what happens there. That'll be interesting to see this season for a lot of playoff teams. Like, do you rest your guys where you normally wouldn't because there's a whole extra game?
Right.
And
with with that last game being a division game for a lot of teams, it really mixes up what's going to happen there, because depending on the situation you find yourself in, playoffs fast approaching, last game of the year, division games are pretty hefty as far as seeding goes.
Yeah. I mean, that game, hopefully everything's wrapped up for the Bucs and the number 1 seed or number 2 seed wrapped up, and they got, I know, but they got the division crown already, and they don't really have to play. You could see Kyle Trask start his first regular season game. But on a more realistic note, hopefully this is a game that the Bucs just go out and just don't screw around. If they need it, if they need to win the division or to get the number 1 seed, just don't screw around.
I don't know if we learned our lesson from last year, but let's say, Mike Evans is yet to hit his 1,000 yards and he's 35 away. Maybe throw him out there for a couple of series.
Yeah, I mean, it's he might have 1,000 yards, but then it's the extra game. So
I think he will.
So I mean, we'll see. But
so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start to wrap things up here, but I just want to say a really quick thank you to everybody hanging out with us here in the live chat. David Cardona has been holding it down. Kevin522. Hopon is in here. Willie Beeman. A couple of other people as well. Don Trump, the one and only. And, of course, Frank G., everybody else who stopped by tonight. Thank you guys so much. So, overall, closing statements, your thoughts on the schedule. And, obviously we'll go into a lot more detail when we do our season prediction show in August. But, your general thoughts of how the season is going to go for Tampa Bay. Also, Kevin had said record's going to be broken all over the place. No lie there, man.
Yeah, it's a shame because a lot of those records will have an asterisk next to it because it's an extra game, and it's going to count as a regular season record. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun this season. I think, you were excited for last season, but you still didn't exactly know how things were going to go. You weren't sure, right? You weren't sure how things were going to work with Tom Brady in this offense. Was the defense, we've seen so many times, 2016, the defense on a run at the end of the year. They come back in 2017 and they're terrible, right? We didn't know. Was the defense going to pick up where they left off? They did. Tom Brady, was he going to be able to fix, to get the offense fixed and, sort of working without a training camp, without a preseason? He did, right? It took some time, but now with these guys having a full year together after a championship season, it's going to be a lot of fun. And, I do think it's tougher than some say. A lot of people look at that strength of schedule thing and say, oh, this is an easy schedule. There's a lot of tough opponents on there, I think. But the Bucs are a good team. So, like, you look at it and yeah, there's tough opponents, but the Bucks can beat some of those tough opponents. They just won the Super Bowl.
I mean, there are more teams looking at the Bucks on their schedule this year than there has ever been.
Yeah, exactly. There's teams of all the Rams fans. The Bucks are looking at the Rams and saying, "Oh, that's a tough game." The Rams are looking, "Oh man, play the Bucks, right?"
Right. Week 3, early on in the year.
The Bills, the Bills are saying, "Man, we got to travel to Tampa." The Dolphins, a young team traveling to Tampa, man. Washington, you got to play Tampa again. So when you get to the Super Bowl, like, yeah, it's a big deal. And yeah, like you said, it's a great point. Like, teams are looking at the Bucs schedule the same thing. It's the same way. Like, they're looking at it the exact same way. So there's a few tough games. There's a few easier games. My message, just take care of your business against the teams you're supposed to beat. And then you mix and match. You're not going to beat. They're not going 17-0. Okay, I'm sorry. They're not. No team's done it really. It's since the 2007 Patriots. It hasn't happened in nearly 15 years. It's not. I just don't see it happening with this team.
Yeah.
But especially with this schedule, because there's a lot of. But you win the games you're supposed to win. You beat the Atlantas. You beat the Philly. You beat the Jets. You beat the Panthers. You beat Chicago. You beat New England. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and then the Rams, the Colts, the Bills. You win some of those games, but you also lose some. So I think there's going to be ups and downs, as there is with every season, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun in the end.
Yeah. Now, what I'm looking forward to the most, our guy Kevin brought it up in the live chat, and our guy Fresh the Killer also checking in. Thank you for hanging out with us, man. I'm excited for fans in the stands. I'm excited for fans back in the stadiums. I'm excited for that game day feel. Maybe tailgating will be allowed again, and maybe you can have a little bit better of a sense of community among your fellow football fans every single Sunday, because that's what we look forward to. But on top of all of that, I'm going to be trying my best to get some tickets to the games this year. I might have to go on a payment plan or get a separate credit card just to do it, but we're going to make it happen. But
based on the early returns for those tickets, you're going to have to.
Yeah. But I mean, we're going to have fans in the stands. We don't know if it's going to be 100% capacity yet. I have a feeling it's not as soon as other teams, just because if Jane Castor has a say-so in it, I don't think she really likes the big crowds. The Lightning only allowing, I think, 9,000 for the playoffs. So we'll have to see. But, things change between now and September, so who the hell knows? But ladies and gentlemen, we'll have fans in the stands for potentially the greatest Buccaneer team ever assembled. And like that's a crazy ass statement, but you're coming off of a Super Bowl. Everything is, feeling good. We're on the right track. Everything's headed in the right direction for, what feels like the first time in since what, 2003? The season after they won their first Super Bowl. You can't feel any better than you do right now. And the fact that they were able to keep this team together, and from here, compared to last year, they can only get better. Everybody should be really excited. I think it's going to be one hell of a season.
Yeah. We will see what happens. And it's, like I said, I think it's going to be a lot of excitement. And let's hope that they can get off to a hot start here. It's a tough start. Like I said, with going from Tampa to LA to New England, like that's tough. So hopefully you're able to manage some of those starts. But like you said, they don't really have 3-4 straight road games, or even 3 straight home games. Really, they don't really have those long stretches, which will help. And they got a good bye week as well in there, so that should help also.
For sure, ladies and gentlemen. That's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here in the live chat over on YouTube. Thank you to our guy Willie Beeman for throwing down $10 to the Wendy's Fund. We appreciate you, and your support does not go unnoticed. Shout out to everybody else. Like I said, Kevin522, our moderator, holding it down, Fresh the Killer, and any one of the Bubba Army that checked in. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. Find the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Social media, best place to go for updates on the show. And, of course, Buccaneers news as it happens. You can find us there at Cannon Fire Podcast. Speaking of social media, find my co-host on Instagram at Bucks_Daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram with over 30,000 followers, right? Almost?
No, I'm at 28. At 28.
We're
stuck
getting
at
there.
28 right now.
I think we need to
We are
make it a
getting
goal,
there,
see if
but
you can hit 30K before the season starts. The Buccaneers social media
hopefully.
just hit 1 million followers
1
on
million.
Twitter today, and I think they're over 1 mil on
Congratulations.
Instagram too, so you got a good shot.
Congratulations to those people. Jill works incredibly hard, and it's one of the best in the league, I think. So it's 28K right now. We're there. Let's try and get to 30 before the season starts. Before week 1, opening night. Let's try to get to 30K.
Hell yeah, buddy. Last but not least, you can find myself on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Redicus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. I don't know when we'll talk to you guys next. Rookie minicamp is going to be kicking off here soon, and then, of course, training camp soon after. Football starting again, folks. I know it feels like the offseason, just got here, but we're past the draft. We know what this team's going to look like roster-wise, and we have a preseason ahead of us as well to kind of iron out the kinks. But we'll be here to talk to you guys about Tampa Bay Buccaneers football sooner than you think, because we got a lot to talk about, whether you know it or not. I am your host, Rhett, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish. We'll catch you guys later. Check out some of the other Buccaneers live streams as well that are still going. Everybody talking about the schedule release. It has been a pleasure talking about it with you. Thank you guys so much for checking out this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet Online. We'll talk to you later. As always, go Bucs.